The War of the Presidents. Abraham Lincoln versus Jefferson Davis. For decades before Lincoln and Davis faced off, the United States had been split by a growing divide between the free states of the North and the slave states of the South. The North was becoming more industrial, with a wage-based labor system, while the South's economy relied heavily on agriculture and enslaved labor, particularly in cotton production. Political compromises such as the Missouri Compromise, the Compromise of 1850, and the Kansas-Nebraska Act tried to keep the peace, but each deepened mistrust. Violent clashes in Bleeding Kansas and the Dred Scott decision of 1857 inflamed tensions further. When Abraham Lincoln was elected president in November 1860, without carrying a single Southern state, many Southerners saw it as proof that their political influence in Washington was gone. Even though Lincoln promised not to abolish slavery where it already existed, his opposition to its expansion was unacceptable to the South. Between December 1860 and February 1861, 7 states, South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas, seceded from the Union and formed the Confederate States of America. They chose Jefferson Davis, a respected politician and former U.S. Secretary of War, as their president. In April 1861, the standoff came to a head at Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor, South Carolina. The fort was still held by U.S. troops, but South Carolina demanded its surrender. Lincoln refused to abandon it, but planned only to send food. Davis ordered Confederate forces to open fire on April 12, 1861. The fort surrendered after 34 hours. Lincoln called for 75,000 volunteers to suppress the rebellion. For more states, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina joined the Confederacy. The first major battle, First Bull Run in July 1861, ended in a Confederate victory. In the West, Union forces under Ulysses S. Grant captured Fort Henry and Fort Donelson in early 1862, opening the Tennessee and Cumberland rivers. The Battle of Shiloh in April 1862 was fought fiercely, with the Union holding its ground. In the East, Confederate General Robert E. Lee took command of the Army of Northern Virginia and repelled Union forces during the Peninsular Campaign. In September 1862, the Battle of Antietam halted Lee's advance into the North. Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863, declaring freedom for enslaved people in Confederate territory. The summer of 1863 brought decisive Union victories. At Gettysburg in July, Lee's northern invasion ended in defeat. At Vicksburg, Grant captured the city, giving the Union control of the Mississippi River and splitting the Confederacy in two. In March 1864, Lincoln appointed Grant as General-in-Chief of all Union armies. Grant pressed Lee in Virginia with constant attacks, while General William Tecumseh Sherman captured Atlanta in September 1864 and then marched to the sea, destroying Southern infrastructure and supplies. By early 1865, the Confederacy was collapsing. Food shortages, desertions, and military defeats weakened its resistance. Richmond fell to Union forces on April 3, 1865. Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865. Davis fled but was captured in Georgia on May 10, 1865. Lincoln saw the Union preserved and slavery abolished, but on April 14, 1865, just days after the surrender, he was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth in Washington, D.C. Davis was imprisoned for 2 years but never tried. The war decided that the United States was a single, indivisible nation. Slavery was abolished with the 13th Amendment. Lincoln became a symbol of unity and freedom, while Davis remained a divisive figure. The cost was over 620,000 soldiers dead, countless civilians affected, and a South left devastated for generations.